Having a van means you can go to almost anywhere, which is exactly how we ended up in places we shouldn't have been. Stuck on roads that were nearly impossible to turn around on, crowded into spots we thought would be nice and secluded, and staying in campsites we definitely should have left. These are the simple rules that we now follow to stop picking bad campsites. Choosing a campsite in a van is pretty easy. It's small, it's capable, but it's also easier to get yourself stuck in a bad or undesirable situation. At least that's what we aim for, but we still mess up sometimes.
One of the biggest problems we had early on was honestly, we would just commit too early. I think part of the problem is when you're traveling with Kelly, she says send it always. She has no fear. In the past, we'd drive down dirt roads thinking, this is gonna be a great spot, but then it would just never open up and there'd just be no place to turn around. So that's our first big one, is we do not commit going down a road unless we know we can get out. What you need to do is check the road layouts. Really, you need to have some kind of mapping system. We use OnX like religiously, but also double check on Google Earth or some other mapping scenario so you can actually see where these roads. A good example of this is I didn't properly check the road before we went down. We took off going down, all of a sudden the 2-track got smaller and smaller, and then all of a sudden it just ended. And it ended in like multiple scenarios that you don't want. You don't want a slope, you don't want mud, and then you also don't want nowhere to actually turn. We ended up ramming the back of this thing into the back bank, flipping the front around, hoping we had enough momentum to actually get out. Thank God we did. But you don't want to get stuck in those scenarios.
Don't be afraid to get out of your vehicle and walk up that road. It could just take a few minutes, where if you get stuck, it could be hours and maybe possibly damaging your vehicle. Now that you can get in and out of sites successfully, you run into a different type of problem. And that, unfortunately, happens to be people. Because when there is a spot that is easy to get to, most likely it's gonna be occupied. If you just remember this rule, distance filters people. There was a spot when we were in Idaho that was on a reservoir. It was gorgeous, beachy front. We had the place to ourselves until a whole bunch of fifth wheels came rolling in and down there. And it was definitely a different experience than what we were expecting. What we should have realized was, with that easy access and basically right off the main road, people were going to definitely show up. There is an easy fix to that. One, avoid easy, obvious pull-off sites, because you know that there are going to be people coming there. And of course, go a little bit farther than people will go. Some of those overlander spots that are pinned, they're right on the road. So maybe avoid some of those. overlander does have its place, but when it comes to seclusion, our experience, not the best app to use for that. If you want to use something like that though, find a spot, look on the map, and go like maybe 5 to 10 miles farther away. You might find a really good secluded spot.
And that leads to our next one. If it's too easy to find, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of privacy. If people are out for a Sunday driving down the roads, and they're easily able to drive down those areas to find your camp, that's probably not the privacy you might have hoped for. We like to aim for getting at least 1 or 2 offshoots off of the main road to get us into an area where you usually aren't going to have people stumbling across you. In our experiences, sites like this have like one massive thing in common. There's usually at least one kind of obstacle that's going to make people think twice about. Coming in here, there's a water bar that it requires significant ground clearance. If you don't have it, you just can't do it. Little things like that. Nothing that's really going to put you at risk, but the general public is going to be like, I'm not doing that. Another one of our absolute favorite sites. It's super easy to get to until like that last 100 yards, and that thing is just a boulder field. We can do it, and a lot of people can do it with their capable rigs, but the general public are absolutely not going to do that. So those are the gatekeepers that keep those sites really special. I will admit this one did take us a little getting used to, because it takes some confidence building in your van or your rig to be able to do those things.
Yeah, that first time we did it, Greg, I think, was a nervous wreck.
Absolutely nervous wreck. So don't feel bad, but just remember, like, when you can learn those capabilities and do that, you can get to some really special spots. Once we started finding those quieter spots, that really ran us into the next problem, which was power and internet versus aesthetics. And sometimes those awesome spots, especially the ones by the river in the areas that we're at, are just amazing. But they'll often have these giant trees. And if you have giant trees, you're not going to get any solar. And odds are you're probably not going to get any Starlink. And that's where you have to make the decision, does power and internet trump that awesome view? So what should you look for when you're actually kind of scouting out places? There's two things you really need to watch for. Well, technically three. One, tree cover. If you're looking at your map, oftentimes you can see, oh, this looks like it has pretty good tree cover, or doesn't. One thing we found is Google Maps. This is actually a recently thing. Google Maps will show, but it doesn't really show you that good 3D view. Google Earth, on the other hand, that will actually show you some of the actual trees. You can actually see the trees sticking up. There's a couple sites just right over there I thought were going to be awesome. Then I fired up Google Earth, and when I looked at it, you could see these dead tree stands literally surrounding the entire campsite. So it was a terrible spot. This next one's a little harder to actually detect on the maps. And if we look around here, there's not a lot of sheer cliffs in this area. Last week when we stayed somewhere, there was a spot, it was a great spot, but all of a sudden, right around 3 p.m., the sun would actually go right behind the mountain because we had this big cliff mountainside right behind us. And we would lose like 4 hours of sun, and that's actually a pretty big deal. We were at one spot, river down the middle, and there were two mountains like this. We were blocked completely with Starlink, with tree cover and mountains. And then we were even having a hard time getting just a message out, letting people know where we were with satellites. We were using our phone to track the satellites and send out a message, and it was like, okay, here comes one, but it was only available for like this little brief window. And the last one you only need to watch out for is sun direction, especially if you're relying on solar, just making sure that that sun direction and the path is actually going to give you what you want. Hopefully we'll have an epic fire. We had just an awesome one last night. We stopped on the road down here. There was a tree that somebody had magically cut up, but they left a whole bunch for us. This stuff was like dry, burned like crazy. But this next one, now that we told you to check your maps and make sure everything is good, well, maps lie. And that's the unfortunate scenario, is sometimes they are wrong. This right here is why you separate your paper from your normal trash. So this is going to start a pretty good fire for us tonight. But the world is a big place, and mapping everything correctly, unfortunately, just doesn't happen right off the bat. But we've had multiple instances where we're driving down the road and it's just like, this looks completely different than what we were seeing. There will sometimes be gates when there's no gate on the map. There'll be roads when there's no road there. This is where you really have to do your due diligence and completely missed that one. And use multiple mapping software like Google Earth, compare that to OnX. The problem is some of the data imagery will be, this area might be years old, where this area over here might be brand new. So you have to kind of look at the dates of the imagery that you're actually looking at. Plus, seasons have a huge impact. I know when we were looking up in Montana, there was some sites that were like completely covered in snow. So all the imagery were like, we have no idea what that's going to even look like. Now, if you're traveling in an area, then all of a sudden things are not looking like you're expecting them to look. This is where you really need to do some scouting. And we've kind of found a cheat code for that a little bit. And they're these little tiny drones. I can launch this from the van, and I just basically stick it right out the window, launch it. I can fly it down the road, see if like, oh, okay, that doesn't look good. Or, okay, yeah, that looks fine. We've purchased multiple drones. We also have a Mini Pro 5, which I completely have destroyed and makes me so sad. This is the newest one. This is the Neo 2. I think we'll do a little bit more information about it later. And I do have my Part 107 license, so we can fly these legally for commercial use. But this little guy is like a tank and bulletproof, and I can fly this thing down roads and bounce off of trees, and it still survives. It's pretty amazing. Last little bit about this, if you have mobility issues, this could be a great thing for you. And secondly, like some people say, well, this is like the lazy version, but if you're out scouting for the day, it takes a long time to like walk a half a mile down the road to see if it's legit, walk a half a mile back, or I can fly that in, just a couple minutes. Rain cloud's trying to ruin our night. Hopefully it'll just go around us. But this next one, You know, a spot may look just awesome on camera, but if the van is not happy or if that location is not exactly flat, it can completely ruin your evening or regularly ruin your whole camping trip. We've tried to stay at a couple sites where, you know, the whole site is slanted. There's like not a single flat spot there. And we're like, okay, we can do this. And there's only so much your body can take, like sitting in the van and everything is cockeyed. You put stuff on the table, it flies off. Drawers do weird things, but the biggest problem is sleeping. Like trying to sleep on a slope, like it's a game over for us. There is one little trick you can do besides leveling blocks. That's the easy one. But if you're in a really cockeyed spot that can't get level, if the ground is not super hard, you can dig out a hole. You should be carrying a shovel. So dig out a hole on the high side, and then you can park your van into that hole. And that's worked really well for us for a couple spots. There are some really cool mapping software out there. OnX has some angles that you can look at. There's other programs that will show you slopes. But what we've found is they're not really accurate enough down to the campsite. It'll be like the whole general area has sloped, but like this little part of the campsite, we haven't found that to be super accurate, and that usually needs eyeballs on site.
If everything checks out on paper, there's still one thing not to ignore, and that's your gut feeling. If it doesn't feel right, leave. I remember we were at that one spot and we ended up staying overnight, but they were doing so much shooting that it felt like maybe they didn't know we were there. Greg actually honked the horn a couple times just so that they could be aware. We definitely, first thing in the morning, booked it out of there.
When Kelly referenced shooting at this place, now we have to elaborate a little bit because this place was kind of off the rails as far as our experiences. In the daytime, people were shooting, and this site had trees going all the way around, so we didn't have any views. We couldn't see where they were. We just knew that they were on the ridge over there. So that's why we were honking our horn, making sure that they knew we were there. As soon as it got dark, all of a sudden we started hearing these noises. It was like, whoa, 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 whoa. It was really loud. And I looked on flight radar, and thank God it showed up. But the military had Chinooks out, and they were doing war games basically above our heads. They were doing cookies around, but then there was this abandoned airstrip just over the next ridge, which we could see. They were landing, doing stuff, taking back off, hovering. That airplane or that helicopter was doing some pretty cool stuff.
We have left some really beautiful places just because it just didn't feel right. I remember one time we came into a spot, absolutely gorgeous, looking around like, yeah, this is perfect. And then we happened to look up, and there was a widowmaker tree, dead. Could have definitely fallen on us on a short little gust of wind. So we definitely packed up and went and found a different spot. It's not worth the risk. You just gotta check your surroundings to make sure everything is okay.
This next one can turn a bad situation into a stressful situation. And it really doesn't have to be. You really just need to have multiple backups, especially when you're dealing with dispersed camping. We've been pulling up to some beautiful sites in the middle of the week. We thought there would be absolutely no problems finding a spot. And lo and behold, when we get there, everything is completely full. The problem with dispersed sites is oftentimes there'll be like here, and then you're 5 miles away to get to the next area where there's next sites. Depending on the day of time, different factors, trying to get to that next site. And then what if that one's full? What if that one's full? So always have a backup. And I would say always have 3 backups. We're getting a couple raindrops. We might need a little bit of help on this fire. Let's get a little fire starter to throw in there. But even if you're gung-ho on dispersed camping, don't be afraid to have a backup site being a campground or two. There's no shame in like resorting back to just a single night at a campground, spend $20, fill up your water, get rid of your trash, try again the next day. Hopefully this little guy will do the trick, which leads us on to our next one, which most of our bad decisions when it comes to campsites have been when we've waited too long. And honestly, we kind of have a standing rule that we give ourselves a minimum of 3 hours before it gets dark when we start looking for campsites. We really learned this one the hard way. We were going to a very specific spot, and this was kind of like we broke a lot of rules this day. We took a turn we weren't expecting to take. It took us into a new area that we had never been.
which is yet also don't go to a brand new area literally right before it gets dark. But halfway up the mountain, we lost all of our light. We didn't have our fancy new lights, so we couldn't really see that well. Not only could we not see the road, but there was just no chance at all of us seeing an offshoot going, being a campsite. This kind of leads us to our last one. And we ended up completely bailing because we had absolutely no way of finding a spot. And we ended up at a campground for the night, which actually turned out to be a really great spot. Just be super careful in areas that you've never been. If you don't know the terrain, even if you have something like OnX that says it's easy, it could take you, you could be going 3 miles an hour. And if you have to go 6 miles, it could take you forever. And then by that time you may be dark. So just be super careful, give yourself plenty of time.
It looks like the rain is actually going to skip us. We kind of lucked out. Hopefully you'll be able to put some of these rules to use and learn from our mistakes. And a big thanks to our YouTube members. Your support really does go a long ways. You can go watch this video next. You can find us at exploretrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.